we need to have a serious talk about the iPhone 18 Pro, because if these latest leaks are even halfway accurate, Apple is about to make a design decision that could split the fan base right down the middle. For the last few years, every premium iPhone has been instantly recognizable because of one thing: the dynamic island. Love it, hate it, or just tolerate it, it gave the iPhone a unique identity. You could spot it from across the room. It was Apple's answer to the notch problem, and it became the centerpiece of the whole iOS experience on the Pro models. But now, brand new concept images of the iPhone 18 Pro have dropped based on some very credible leaks. And they show something that honestly looks like it was ripped straight out of 2019. We're talking about a corner punch hole camera dot. Yes, you heard that right. The iPhone 18 Pro might be ditching its signature center dynamic island, cut out in favor of a tiny circular hole tucked away in the upper left corner of the display layout Android phones experimented with years ago and then largely abandoned. So, what is going on here? Is Apple out of ideas and just recycling old Android aesthetics? Or is this a deliberate strategic move toward a fully bezel-less future that most people aren't seeing yet? Today we're breaking down the controversy, the leaks, the potential reasons behind this retro design, the new coffee and purple color options, and everything we're expecting from the iPhone 18 Pro launch in 2026. And by the end of this video, you'll know whether this corner camera is a complete deal breaker or secretly the smartest move Apple has made in years. Let's start with the evidence. These new iPhone 18 Pro renders come from a designer known as LDVA. And they're not just random fan art. They're based on whispers from supply chain sources and reliable leak accounts that have been pretty accurate over the last few iPhone generations. Back in December, we started hearing that the successor to the iPhone 17 Pro, the phone Apple is planning for late 2026, would feature a reworked dynamic island. Naturally, most of us assume that meant a smaller pill shape, a tighter layout, maybe even a thin, subtle cutout still centered at the top. That is not what these new leaks are showing. According to the latest reports, Apple is allegedly moving the front-facing selfie camera to the upper left corner of the display. If you look closely at these high-resolution concept images, it's jarring at first. It doesn't look like any modern iPhone. It looks like something from the early days of full-screen Android phones. Think Honor View 20 early Galaxy S10 style devices. And for a 2026 flagship, that immediately raises eyebrows. So why is this such a big deal? For the last 5 years, the entire smartphone industry has mostly agreed. If you're going to punch a hole in the screen, put it in the center. Center camera cutouts feel symmetrical, balanced, and intentional. A center dynamic island became part of how iOS itself behaved. Timers, music, calls, navigation, live activities, all orbiting around that one interactive hub. Shifting the camera into the top left corner breaks that visual rhythm. It feels asymmetrical. It reminds people of mid-range Android phones, not a $1,000 plus Pro iPhone. A lot of users are already saying the same thing. This looks like a budget Android from 5 years ago. That is a dangerous association for Apple's most premium device. So, why on earth would Apple, a company obsessed with visual harmony and brand identity, make such a move? Let's play devil's advocate. First, screen real estate. As much as people like the dynamic island as a concept, it does sit right in the middle of the status bar and occasionally intrudes on content. When you're watching a full-screen video, gaming, or reading, that pill is always there. Cutting into the center dot by moving the camera into the corner, Apple could free up the entire middle of the status bar, giving you more usable space across the top and a cleaner, more immersive viewing experience. The distraction is moved out of your direct line of sight and pushed to your peripheral vision. It's still there, but your brain notices it less. Imagine watching a movie or playing a game on the iPhone 18 Pro. Instead of a floating black pill right in the center, You get a near continuous top edge with just a tiny circle in the corner. For a lot of media and games, that corner area is where you have a mini-map, a settings icon, or empty sky. In practice, that might be less annoying than the current dynamic island while you're actually using the phone. Second, and maybe more. Importantly, under-display technology. For several years now, rumors have been swirling that Apple wants to move the Face ID sensors under the display. That means hiding the infrared projector, flood illuminator, and the dot pattern sensors beneath the screen so they're invisible when not in use. We're not quite at the point where Apple can hide everything perfectly, but the leak suggests that by the time the iPhone 18 Pro launches, they might be ready to bury most of the Face ID hardware behind the old panel. If they pull that off, then the only thing that still truly needs a physical cutout is the actual selfie camera lens. And that's where this corner punch hole comes in, routing all the cables, display connectors, and Face ID components under the screen is an insane engineering challenge. It might simply be easier from a manufacturing and reliability standpoint to place that single remaining camera hole off to the side rather than dead center. The top corners of the display often have more structural space for cutouts without compromising the integrity of the screen or the placement of other internal components like the earpiece speaker and antenna lines. So, this might be a compromise. Apple gives you more uninterrupted screen in the middle, hides most of the sensors, and lives with a tiny old-school-looking corner punch hole as a temporary step toward a truly seamless display in the future. However, there's a big catch. The dynamic island is not just a hole. It's a software experience. The dynamic island is integrated into iOS. It expands for calls, shrinks for timers, shows your music, sports scores, ride-sharing updates, you name it. It's not just a cutout. It's part of how you interact with your iPhone everyday. So if Apple moves the camera to the corner, what happens to the dynamic island? Does Apple kill it completely and go back to a static status bar? Does it become some sort of dynamic corner in the top left? That sounds ridiculous on paper, but Apple is known for turning weird ideas into polished UI features. One possibility is that Apple keeps the dynamic island concept but decouples it from the physical cutout. In other words, they might give you a virtual dynamic island, an animated hub that appears in the center when needed, but isn't anchored to a camera hole anymore. Notifications and live activities could slide out from the top center or even from both corners, while the physical camera hole quietly sits off to the side, doing its own thing. Another possibility, Apple uses the extra status bar space to introduce a smarter, more interactive top edge. Think small tappable icons for music, navigation, calls, and background tasks that you can expand when needed. More like an interactive status bar 2.0 than a single island. Whatever they do, one thing is clear. If Apple changes the cutout to a corner punch hole and doesn't ship some kind of new signature UI behavior to replace the dynamic island, they are going to get roasted. It will look like a downgrade, not an evolution. Now, let's step away from the punch hole drama for a second and talk about the rest of the iPhone 18 Pro design. Because honestly, if these renders are accurate, the phone itself looks absolutely stunning. The iPhone 18 Pro is expected to keep the refined titanium frame we saw on the previous generation, with that light, durable, premium feel in the hand. Edges are slightly softened, making it more comfortable to hold for long periods, while still looking modern and industrial. But the real eye-catchers are the new colors. According to the leaks, Apple is finally introducing a deep coffee color option. And this is not just another kind of brown, kind of bronze attempt. This coffee finish looks rich, dark, and luxurious like a double-shot espresso wrapped in titanium.